Kara Smith, board member.
Connie Cosimento, board member. And would the folks up about,
Yeah, I'd like to introduce my wife Debbie Duran, and she's also my chauffeur today. I'm Tom Duran and caregiver.
Kim Natoli, port employee.
Pat McMahon, port employee.
Debbie Gavin, port employee.
thank you.
And Connie, I'm here on behalf of the yacht club.
Fran told me, so thank you. We'll get there,
Thank you.
all right? First item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of the December meeting. Have you had an opportunity to peruse those? And
So moved.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Yes. And on to our administrative operational report, that would be Exhibit B. Bill?
Okay, thank you. Monthly report you have in your folder there. You see the increase in our rail. All last ships that were booked. Also, last month, the West Pier reconstruction was about to bid. You'll be receiving those probably next meeting, bid tabs on recommendations of the engineer on most qualified and lowest bid. I do need approval to move forward on global marina bathroom bid. Last month, the engineer put out, I think, a very detailed analysis of where we are to go with this, and I'm a month now behind putting out the bid. My concern and his concern is that we must have a bid because it's going to be out for 30 days, which puts us into February. It takes a while to get contractors sorted out, so that puts us into March, and really March and April is when you need to start construction if you're hoping to get this open by May. Also, as a point, contractors now are looking for their jobs for next year. So we'll be more competitive in the market on the various contractors as they go to look to bid for their projects. And if they have a project for next year, they're more likely to give us a good price. And we all know we have a certain limit to that number.
If I recall, I don't have my notes on that one here with me, but we were going to stay within the footprint, right?
Yes,
And possibly add an outer bathroom, which you said all these pieces of
But if we did that,
the recommendation for the engineer, the plan we had was that we would add alts, an outside shower.
Right.
Okay, but the footprint of what we have, when you look at the commitment to state and federal regulations on what we have handicap accessible,
Right.
we have to have electrical room, we have to have because we're rolling in the money from the pavilion into that, we have to have an attendance room, though it'll be outside the closet, but it's still an attendance room. 2 bathrooms, which are not handicap accessible, but 1 bathroom which is, and 1 shower is. If you rearrange that puzzle, I think he detailed it very well, you eliminate the footprint. The footprint is the box. And the standard square foot cost, that would bring us to a relatively within the budget amount that we have left. And that would bring the project within 3,000, 4,000 plus, and that gives us a little contingency, maybe for a camera system over there or whatever.
Okay.
But we're very close, and I want to reiterate, I did not design that. It was the architect went over, took a look at the box, looked at what the commitment for Ready was, and our PFRAT grant, which was Passion Freight and Rail Improvement Grants, that we rolled into this because 1.8 million was what we originally had. It really budgeted out after the COVID and all these crises we had to 2.1. So, we also signed another contract and agreed to doing that footprint. We really don't have the money to make more.
Okay.
But Fran wanted an outside shower, if we can bring it in within that amount
Right,
with an outside, but that's why we say an add all. That means the base bid will be for 3 bathrooms, shower, attendant room, brand new electric room. Because we have to do re-electric over there, new electrical service. Then, if there's money left, then
The
we'll
outside
do
shower.
an outside shower.
okay.
That's on, the third page in on exhibit B. This was actually page 2 from, copy on page 2 from the local arena update.
Right,
CNS, so we got a mark there about currently waiting for approval. So, my thought process, and I know that everybody's looking for, an impact that's, perhaps more elegant than what's there. We can always see what the
Right.
demand,
as far as I'm concerned, perfectly fine with what we have, and if we have money left over. Connie?
Well, yeah, we want bathrooms that are guest house health code.
Yeah.
And we don't need the Taj Mahal.
No.
And
I'd make a motion to, in accordance with that recommendation of waiting for the board in order to move forward with the construction bids for the bathhouse renovation design.
With the possibility of having,
23. We should, include the potential alt tag.
you mean
Outdoor
putting the
shop.
bids out?
Yeah, getting the bids out, because we're approving the design as is.
The bid will include an add all for an outside shower head.
Right.
It's the last one.
Right.
We are, but add all means that if it comes within budget, we
Yeah.
can do it. If not,
If
it's
we
not
can't.
included.
Is that correct? I thought, and I'm probably wrong, I thought anything outside of the footprint, is that gonna be outside of the footprint? And
it's
I
inside,
thought-
it's inside.
It's
the
going to be
base.
an outside shower, which requires, this is what it would actually be. We would go to one of the bathroom facilities and drill through a water connection, put a concrete slab, and have some type of, either, like plastic or wooden retaining wall.
Right.
Yeah, composite, thank you.
You got the picture of
And that
that
would be
last time.
it.
Yeah.
And that would be it. It would not be it would just be someone could step in, close the door, turn water on, and step back out again. It wouldn't be like a handicap shower. that
So it is
uh,
outside of the actual footprint?
Yes, it would be.
I thought I read that our grant would not pay for anything outside of the footprint.
Well, when you're talking about the footprint, aren't you talking about inside the building?
You're pretty much accurate in that, but I had board member wanted added, so we added it. But it's an add-all, so
Which we will be responsible for 100%.
I will try to not let that happen. I will try to,
Okay.
if it is, I mean, number one is DASNY, which we deal with, and the governor's office, far as now is, ready is going into the governor's office from where it used to be. So I'll have that discussion, and I'll bring it to the bid, I'll put it like this, it will not be attached to the base bid, it'll be add-all, so we can make that decision later.
Perfectly fine.
Okay,
Who seconded?
John did. And the motion is a recommendation to move forward with putting bids out for the local bathrooms. All in favor?
With an add-on, with an add-on.
Oh, right, I have that.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Opposed? All right, that passes. So Kim, you've got that one, I've got the next one.
Okay, next is the Movavi lease agreement. A number of years we've had a warehousing unit out on Route 1 outside the city, which Movavi has utilized as their, I don't know, fitness building. They want to re-up again for another 3 years. I
A fitness
recommend we do. Yes,
Wow.
it's a good, nice warehouse building. Actually, it's 40 plus acres. So if some of the board, you were here when I renegotiated the contract, we got access to our 42 acres in back that we didn't previously have, that retained it. We got an additional $100 a month. Pam was negotiating with me, so I compliment her. We actually got a little bit more, because remember Debbie, we had to drop it during COVID because they weren't using it. Now they added the $100 back in, so we're back to where we were a few years ago, so.
Okay.
that's
I see cars there all the time until I drive by them.
Yeah, it's funny, put it like this, we actually give it to them less than market rate per square foot. If you were going to market today, they wouldn't be able to get it. But Movavi has been a long time customers of ours, and, you know, we have a good relationship with them. I would suggest we continue that relationship. I had a phone call with Senator Schumer's representatives. He wanted to know our plans for 2024. I gave him a very quick rundown of everything. We're applying, as we applied for PFRAP electric crackmobile, adding track. We have an EDA, Federal Economic Development Agency grant for another rail spur in here. So he's very excited about this. And why the call was important is because we're going to be putting an application for PIDP grant for Construction Development Program. We convert the barrel building into a warehousing facility which is heated, hopefully a gantry crane and new docks. That is I think I could be wrong, but I think we're either we would be the only warehousing facility like that in the county, and very well one of only one or two by the time Micron's up and running. Movavi Slaughter has expressed interest in occupying it, so I think it's going to be a very competitive grant when we submit it in February. It's due in February, or actually it's out in February, and May is the deadline, May 14th, I believe. We've had the Marine Highway. It's on our container mover. It's been interesting. We've had 3 or 4 drafts on it. You have the last one so far. They're all ready to accept that, and we'll hopefully go to bid on the machinery as that big container mover end of January, as soon as they sign or agree to sign the contract. So that's exciting. That's one project we get down. Next one is ballast water. Fran and I wish Fran was here tonight, but he's not. But Fran and I had a call with the people that Kitty that we had ballast water out there. Part of the company is in Texas, part of it is in Rochester, New York. Though it is not a requirement now, in the next couple of years it will be. So we had a conversation with them. It was a very good conversation. I gave you a brochure in your package just to give you an idea of the flavor of the company. Well, we have agreed to pursue the possibility of having a joint grant to actually look at the Port of Oswego to be that facility. There's a lot of money out there now with environmental protection, EPA, New York State. So the first step would be an actual study, environmental study of how it would fit in the port, how we would do it, what the cost would be. That would be the blueprint or groundwork for a grant. So that's where we're at with that.
It's in, right before city, right before the last PMC. There it is.
This one right here.
So I think it's worthwhile for us to pursue, I really do.
It's gonna be a couple, 3 years down the road, but, you know, just like I'm looking at the barrel building being converted, we always seem to be a year or two ahead, and we get it. So, like, this would be something we would be ahead of everybody else on, and if it came to fruition, bingo, we can get there. Last one is Border Patrol Station. I've had discussion with the owners. I'm meeting with them this week. I've engaged a company to do a review of it, to give me a benchmark of what would be appropriate to make a settlement on if they wish to retain ownership of it, not retain ownership, not lease but own the property. I'll bring that to the board next month, and I'll be talking with him this Thursday, I believe.
So what kind of a lease is it? It's not a lease?
We have a lease for about ever. It's repetitive because they built the building when it was really designed. Thomas McLaws was director then. It goes on for 50-plus years with automatic renewals. To bring it back, there's nobody here left. We had, well, I'm not being nasty, I'm just simply saying is, there was more, we had an attorney from Boncheng King that, he's now Supreme Court judge. Someone help me with my memory.
Scott Del Conte?
Who? Scott Del Conte, thank you, Debbie. Scott Del Conte, back when we did a review of all our leases, basically said, it's like owning it. Okay, it's basically owning it.
So it's a lease.
So we don't own the property now, we don't have control of it, so I'm really interested in looking at.
Technically, the board owns the property, and is the lessor of the land. The lessee built the facility for Border Patrol with their relationship with government security programs and this other facilities too, so they don't have infrastructure to battery breakers and stuff. But disclosure, the firm holds my real estate license, so I want to disclose my conflict of interest and accuse them voting. But basically what Bill's saying is you have this long-term land lease and you can convert that really to cash by something, selling the present value of the future stream of cash flow of the property you're not going to control in our lifetimes and beyond. So that company maintain the relationship with the expansion.
Do we have any liability there if we hold the lease?
Yes, you would remove any liability if you sold the property outright. Escape the loan.
Unfortunately,
I don't think there's much liability in land other than any environmentals. There probably aren't.
Yeah, Scott basically explained it to us back then that, they gave a lease basically, so, see those commercials on TV, if you have life insurance, they'll pay you for the value of life insurance? It's sort of the same thing. It's the value going forward, it died, and in this case, it's forever. Yeah, so, I'm gonna discuss it with them, see what they want. I thought it would be prudent and within all our fiduciary responsibility to get a company to review it and then make recommendations. So if it goes forward, we have to, excise it. We have to have some paperwork saying we made a deal which was within the realm of normal transactions. That's why
Who initiated this?
And just for my disclosure, I'm not having any discussions with the board member on this. So it's purely between me and them, and then I bring it to the board, probably through a committee. I think governance would handle this because you have real estate. You would review it, then recommend it to the board if it was to be within your committee's discretion. So that's all I have. Thank you. If there's any questions.
The Stacker project,
The what?
Stacker,
Yes.
it looks like it's like
Did we already
942,000.
okay the
Yep.
money for the staff,
How much of it is funded?
the new
Is
staff?
it the non-federal funds? Is
It's
that our
ours.
burden?
Yes. And we would go, as we've done with all our equipment, we go to a long-term lease on that portion only. Yep.
When
What
did
kind
that
of
get
return do
started?
you think you see with that? I mean, who's gonna utilize it?
Well, we use the big standing forklift, a lot. It saved us, at least $25,000-$30,000 last
It's
year.
the new one, we just
The new
purchased.
big forklift, yeah, yeah. Because we have to load, equipment, we also, you'll be getting, not next month, maybe the month after, I've, reached out, Novellus wants to sign a contract for the large ingots that they wanna unload here, and that's what, primarily that's gonna be used for, so it'll be paid for in a month on that, or a year on that project. This is, a commitment for us because we have a short sea project now being reviewed, and that's essential to it. But, even if we don't get that, it's basically a small crane. It's what originally was used at the windmill project in 2022. So, we're looking at a windmill project, probably a couple in 2025. That will be instrumental in that, because all it is you take off the container, it has a round knuckle on it, it can be used as a crane. It's a very inexpensive, well, I would say, a couple, 15 to 18,000 for the unit that goes on it, but it goes into a crane. So, yeah, we got rid of a big crane, but we're going to get one that's more useful and more utilization-wise at the port for that, so. It's answer your question short, it's multi-use. It can be used for many things.
Any other questions?
Yeah, just,
John?
Just wondering how, any weather pattern affect closing of the season?
Well, yeah, it did affect us greatly. Not the weather, but the closure of
Yeah, I know that.
8 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, it drove a lot of people to pull the trigger on rail opposed to ship, but then an interesting thing happened. It freed up a lot of space to bring more in by ship and barge. So they are not slowing down bringing in aluminum by rail. With the price of metal going down, and looking at a uptick in the economy, I've been reading those little newsletters online. It looks like Novellus is going to increase production a lot this year. The aluminum is, we've never had this much aluminum on site. In fact, our storage fee is going up a third or more. You'll see in the next few months, our storage fees are not fees, pardon me, our revenue is going to go up dramatically. My crystal ball says you're seeing an upward flow on car production in Detroit, which is where our aluminum goes. Also, a lot of the aluminum with that new line they're putting in that we brought in last year, material, that's going to be up. All the companies are hedging their bet with aluminum right now on site because they see a uptick in usage, which means for us, an uptick in revenue in. I'm projecting a semi-aggressive, for me, right, Debbie, increase in aluminum next year. I would never even, but I'm seeing what I'm hearing.
It's using the purchase in store at least price.
Yes,
rather
yes.
than price level.
Yes, it's buy and hold, and right now, we've got the market on that. In fact, I think we beat Toledo this year in aluminum intake. I'll know in a couple of weeks when I talk to my St. Lawrence Seaway friends. What also is happening is that Novellus is switching over production to the larger ingots for the line. We're picking that up second, third quarter next year. That's what I sent you. I'm gonna be going into Novellus contract negotiations for at least 6 to a year. I'm gonna go for a year on large ingots. So we're shifting over how we deal with aluminum drastically in 2024, well, to this year. because now we're seeing an uptick. I've talked to McKeel. McKeel is booking 2 or 3 more people on their system, their barge, and I think one of them we have, the other one is looking to come here. So I think, I project we're gonna have a big boom here this year.
So are they bigger than what's out in the yard right now?
No, volume is gonna increase and also bigger ingots. We have handled in the past, in 2022 and 2021, the large slabs. They're not ingots, they're slabs. They're 25 to 26,000 pounds apiece. They have a new plant that's going in production that is going to be using 89-foot rail cars. 89-foot rail cars do not fit on a typical bend you have either at Novellis. We, now I can't take credit for this, Tom Swallow designed F-Track, which is track over here as you come in. When we got the Northern Border Commission grant to build an additional rail spur, he went, well, we gotta build it to the newest standards that are out in the future. He built it to an 89-foot rail car standard. I thought he was nuts. That's that track. That track can handle the Novellis rail cars. We're the only one that can. So we're gonna unload and transload them to Novellis. They can't do it at the plant, we can do it here. They probably are going to get a PFRAP grant, which we already are going to get a PFRAP grant, because the amount of money that was, number of applications of money are almost matched. That means that we always have a pull on the money. So we'll probably get, in whenever the governor announces it, 2 PFRAP grants. They're also going to get a grant to expand their rail, but they're not going to build the rail in a year. It's impossible. So we're going to be taking their business for that slabs here over the next year until their plant is up and running with the new rail system. At the same time, we're adding that rail system too. We're going to run a new system down here and up there. So when I discussed this with them, you were in, right, Pat, the meeting zone? I don't believe they're going to even handle the volume. They're talking 20 to 25 rail cars per week. Now, that's 5 slabs per rail car. Just do 20 times 5, you got 100. 100's a lot to take. And then you talk 25, you're talking a lot of ingots. If it was me, I would place my chips on, they're not gonna be able to handle it all, it's still gonna retain with us. And that's gonna be in the contract. I'd like to be in an overflow position for them. So I think aluminum is driving a really positive uptick in the market right now, and we just have everything they need. And I didn't talk about the FTZ. We have a possible client for the FTZ long-term that we're right now in negotiations with. I just have to give prices to and sell the issue being here. So, I forgot what your question was, but your question is, it's gonna be a good year.
It had to be, it really had to do with the Seaways opening closure, but that information
This may seem irrelevant and like a stupid question, but with everything blowing up in Yemen and over there, all over the place right now, is any of that gonna have any impact on
No,
us?
they said.
No, because we don't,
An industry-wide standpoint.
industry-wide, you're looking at, you're talking about, number one, yeah, those are container goods. They're a container good movement. We rely on short sea bulk, and unless the St. Lawrence Seaway and aluminum shuts down at the Alouette Mill, we're going to continue. You have the plant in Messina, which we already have rail cars, 1 rail car scheduled on Messina to ride this week or next week. I think next push, I see Messina on there. We get most of the aluminum from Canada Prime, so that's not affecting us. that affects the Port of New York, New Jersey. That doesn't affect us. So actually, they are going to be affected where we continue not to be affected.
My concern with that is because they're talking about supply chain stuff again. And that seems to trickle all the way down through.
Gas.
Normally, that would be in the wider market, it would be, but for the Port of Oswego in our market niche, it's not gonna affect us.
Okay.
It's actually not in our realm of thinking until you look at vehicles. If you talk about right now, what I look at is you got interest rates are projected to come down next year, credit card and car loans. What does that drive? Purchase of cars. What does Novelis do? Create aluminum for purchase
Cars.
vehicles. So that is a driver for me. I wish Professor DeGay was here because he could do the whole economic thing. But we have Tom, so he can tell it.
I am willing to take your word for it, but, you know, that's been a concern because, how many of those cars go out of the country? If the supply dries up overseas, what does that do to the desire to build cars?
I think there's always gonna be a desire to build a car.
Well, yeah, but you know what I mean. If the
What you really
market,
have is for a certain period of time, it will probably be brief because it's a global issue, it's not necessarily connected to other Middle Eastern affairs. It just drives up costs because it takes longer and costs more. But not necessarily.
That's a good question.
Yeah, no, I was wondering what the industry perspective was. So you had a question answer.
I mean, I've talked to the business development manager last week from St. Lawrence Seaway. I mean, that's who I judge is how they view the market system to be in the lakes, the 5 lakes. We don't see anything. I mean, actually the St. Lawrence Seaway went ticked up at the end. Everybody was projected to dip. Actually, to answer your question, being open those added 8 days really helped a lot. In fact, we got hammered with freight, aluminum. So I hated to be I was a pessimist at the beginning. I'm now an optimist.
here's another kind of off the wall question, but it's in the back of my mind, so I'm gonna throw it out there. What if the political environment changes in November?
We're set for that because last time our primary revenue source was aluminum. We have an FTZ zone now. The tariffs get put back on aluminum as they were last time. We have a beautiful opportunity for the companies to store all their aluminum in the port and avoid those tariffs until they actually pull them out.
So the whole port is part of the FTC zone?
Yeah.
Actually, at the present time, just the northern warehouse is. But in our application, we can expand it anywhere within our fenced-in boundary. So we can put it in Dome 4 if we wanted to. It's just that we have to announce it, Customs has to agree to it, and we're not talking about a year and a half like the last one was. We're talking maybe a 30-day.
That would probably be a good thing to do just as an insurance policy.
We advertise our FTZ, and we did let all our aluminum customers at the time know about it. And I believe me, if there's a possibility of tariffs going back on it, I can guarantee you we'll fill it. So we have plan A or plan B. We're set up for plan A. You can relax. We've got it covered.
My mind is thinking about all those kinds of things right
Well,
now.
I was thinking about 2 years ago. Excuse me, it's 3 years ago.
Yeah. As the day approaches closer though.
Gets closer fast.
Huh?
gets closer faster.
Yep.
It seems. Any more questions? All right, we'll move on to financial reports. Tom?
Yeah, so these are calendar year-end financials, just to remind you, that'll be 9 months, fiscal year being March 31st. But, you know, the cash position hasn't changed much, and remains strong. What's really different at this point is, you know, receivable, we're comparing to the 9 months ended December 31st, 22. The receivables are down, payables are up, over I think most of that payable is the mobile marina expedition, and the funds already exist for that to be payable to me very current. So, you know, from the balance sheet standpoint, the low leverage in the equity position that the board has, the balance sheet is very strong. You know, it hasn't been as growth. When you're doing year-over-year comparatives, last year was exceptionally strong, so this year was, you know, exceptionally weaker. However, total income is 4% over budget. At the cost of goods sold, the margin's up 7.7% over budget. Over budget. And really, you know, the area you should be focusing mostly on at the middle of the second page, page 2 of 2, the profit and loss statement, the net ordinary income, because there's a lot that happens below that line at the grant level, which is very beneficial for the cash position, for the projects, for future revenue, for retained earnings, but really isn't as meaningful to the ordinary operations report, so that's why net ordinary income sits there. You can see that net ordinary income at the end of the 9 months ending was $513,000. You know, that compares favorably by $70,000 or 15.8% of budget. And then below that line item, you have significant disparities relative to grant timing. So, you know, significant variance there against the budget. The very significant variance against the budget is a FEMA grant of 43, 48 weeks.
That we have to carry.
So it's still just sitting out there. So it's really more about timing. So really the operations of the port, you know, before amortization and depreciation, the cash earnings of the port are pretty strong at $500,000, you know, but they were a year ago at $2.3 million, but those anticipating, I think, though not budgeting for significantly.
All I can say is, we're over budget. You know, I cut to the quick, we're over budget. And I think that at this point in time, December, when you're over budget, it's good, because we've got another 3 months to go.
Yeah.
And we're picking up more revenue, as you see in what we're picking up more revenue, over $85,000 we didn't anticipate, and the amount of storage fees is going to just be a lot more than what, well, when Debbie and I put the budget together and presented it to you and the audit committee, we didn't realize that we would be swimming in aluminum, so we kind of did a couple 3-year projection back, and it just is, it's good.
You're sure smiling wide enough, so it's gotta be pretty good.
Anytime that we have a budget projection, we're over it, and Tom will tell you, I always budget conservative. So we're over budget in December, so I'm really happy. Got a lot of expenses, but we're gonna.
So, you know, with that, I'll make a motion to approve the financials as presented. There's a second, and anybody has any questions?
I'll second it.
Diane?
If anybody has any questions, we have any?
Any questions?
You just second.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, I mean, accounts receivables, and accounts payable, looks like it's kind of reversed itself this past month.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's, if you look, that's really one primary provider on the AP side, and it's current billing. So we got it down. If you go to the AP page one of, after the interest. So if you turn, keep going, because there's a schedule of the accounts payable, specific schedule, the accounts payable, and that specific schedule of receivables. Receivables have explanations for items over 30 days or past current. There's really not much past current on the payables, but if you look down, third item from the bottom, that's where most of the increase in payables come from. That was the excavation probably of the global marine, which funds were already sitting either available in cash or reimbursement on the grant. So, you know, first I looked at it and I said, oh, it's interesting when payables are higher than these. Built out, so I had the same question you did, that's why I think.
What I always like to look at is my accounts receivable is almost a half million. That needs to be half.
Yep. And payables is the current billing time.
Okay, any other discussion? Not, we'll take a vote on accepting the reports A and B. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Yes. And, next is the chairman's report. I talked with Fran today, he didn't really have anything to say, other than I'll call him later. And committee reports, no executive, how about audit and finance?
Well, we do have an item that I don't know, I think should be referred to a very, very quick executive session, or maybe we can avoid that. It's really about the compensatory time off, and it's kind of go to the audit and finance committee to revise it so that there was some oversight over the executive director who's been put in for compensatory time, but doesn't use the vacation time he has, but if it happened, then it's really a reporting process to the Board of Finance Committee, a pre-approval process, just an oversight review process. However, I don't anticipate to have those kind of technicality. That's under the new business tab, so we could avoid the executive session if you wanted to look at that. There's really only one change, and that was folded up on the second page, and it just says the executive director will receive approval from the committee for commencing of but that's, yeah, they call committee meetings every time, so it's going to happen. So more of an overview process. It's great, so
Yeah.
supposedly so that coming out of the finance committee, but delegated review with Micah on it. Recommend approval, so that maybe something we.
I only have one question about that. That is going to, it's a policy that will be added to the employee handbook. And in the employee handbook, and I didn't get a chance to check today, somewhere there's a definition of exempt and non-exempt. I remember, okay, that's my only question.
It's a civil service stuff.
Right, okay, all right. So, then you're okay with that if we do that in the business? Or do you want to do it right now?
Oh, you can do it in the business,
Yeah, it is there. Motion.
Why don't we just do it now?
Number 9,
Oh, you're right.
okay.
You just want to sign it, motion 0108 240, the actual motion.
We'll do that when we get there. That way.
Yeah, okay.
Kim can stay
So
safe.
we're not messing up the agenda.
Poor Kim.
So that's all I have coming out of my finance committee, which I should really
Okay,
schedule a meeting for.
all right. Governance, anything, John?
No report at this time, but I may have something to say in executive session about
We're not, are we going to executive session?
If any member wants to call an executive session.
You can.
Okay.
It'll be brief, very brief.
Did anything for planning and
Well,
development?
we just went over everything that was good, probably get passing the thing, so, yeah. And next one, move on to the other projects that we have. so.
All right. So to old business. Does anybody have any old business you want to bring up? If not, we'll go on to new business, and our first item is to accept the lease extension and modification agreement between the Board of School Authority and the Bells Corporation, which is Exhibit D.
I'd move this presented. Police, no, that's the whole time.
Okay, so motion 01-08-2403. Tom moves as presented. Is there a second?
Expanded.
Stand-in? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. On to next, to authorize the executive director to work with the Port Council to create an agreement with the Oswego Yacht Club to place a concrete ramp constructed as Oswego Yacht Club cost on Port of Oswego Authority property at 17 Lake Street. Engineering of this concrete pad will be in compliance with all state and federal regulations approved by Port engineers, and this is Exhibit E. Okay, so who would like to speak to this, Bill?
Yeah, I'll briefly speak to it. I was contacted by Tom Grant, which is in here. He can fill in any details that I may miss. Basically, they have an application to put some docks in the vicinity of our Fish and Wildlife Station in the water. They're anchored to the floor of the lake. They're not attached, but to gain access to them, they need some attachment. There was some concern on my part about our Fish and Wildlife lease, but where I believe we can put it is on the far left corner facing the break wall. It's not part of parking, so therefore it's not part of the Fish and Wildlife lease. It's a grassy area that is accessible by public parking, not necessarily our parking, but public parking. So I see no negative recourse for us. It would be assisting the yacht club to reinstitute its programs, which would bring benefit to tourism for the city. If they choose to do it, it would be something that we could do with Port Council and engineers to do it, and the final say would obviously come from the board. Do you have anything to add, Tom?
I can provide a little bit of history. The yacht club, under Mayor Barlow's administration, was basically kicked off the former coal trestle property. Our lease was taken, and while we were there, and we had approximately 200 feet of docks that we built and we maintained, and they were positioned in an east-west configuration off of that pier, and that was part of our lease with the city, that we could do that and that we could run our programs using those docks. And they have, since we're no longer with the city over there, those docks have been in storage. And the yacht club's ability to host events like regattas, including the hospice regatta, among others, has been almost shut off. We look forward to get back into that business. It's important for the yacht club to exist that way and bring in tourism dollars, among other things, for the city. We previously hosted 4 or 5 events throughout the summer. Last year, we were able to host one right over here. And that was the Hospice Regatta last year. We want to continue supporting hospice and bring other events in. The application is for us to essentially change the anchoring system from an east-west configuration where they sit today to a north-south adjoining the shoreline at the westernmost part of your property by the Fish and Wildlife Building. And we have people within we typically would do the work ourselves to make that change. But the connection to the shoreline, we have a 25-foot commercially produced ramp to connect that we used in our previous location, and we need a connection point on the shoreline so that we can access those docks. The docks will be used for various boating programs, including youth sailing, adult sailing. I teach clinics on how to sail and that sort of thing. And it would basically put us back into that type of business. And needless to say, we think it's very important.
So Tom, you'll be able to use those previous docks now?
Yes, they do need some repair. Pat will tell you he's seen them. We in fact had a meeting recently where we budgeted for the materials that we need to do some repair work.
So is there any other approvals that?
Oh, there's a long list of it. This request came as a result of, there were 4 agencies that we needed to go through to get permits for the anchors for the docks. It's and we had to provide GPS coordinates. Fortunately, we have an engineer in our club that was able to provide all of the engineering schematics for that part of it. And so our application has moved along, and the Department of State sent us a request for a document citing the agreement between the yacht club and the Port Authority to do this. And that's what we are asking for at this time, so we can submit that documentation along with our application to move those anchors. And as to whether it's going to be an easy job to move them, they've been in the water for 20 some odd years. That's our problem. It's going to be a test. They are 10 foot wide, 20 feet long, and they are, I believe we have 9, possibly 10. One was in a little bit of repair, so I'm not sure we can use all 10 of them. I think we'll end up with. So that's what we're asking for is.
Thank you for keeping the club going.
Yes.
Challenges presented to you and other members of leadership.
One of the interesting developments over the past month has been the ad hoc committee between the city and the Port Authority. And a few of you were there. I'm sitting on that committee as well.
Right.
And I'm encouraged that in addition to, the yacht club's always had a good relationship with the port, and we value that for sure. But I think the outlook going forward of us reestablishing a better relationship with the city, with Rob Cordino, that outlook is brighter than it has been in the last 8 years, to put it that way. So we're hopeful that it's all going to work out, with your help too.
What kind of completes the vision of this marine village that could exist among the city and the yacht club and the marine museum and the port? So hopefully this will come to fruition.
Thanks for your consideration.
Who owns the water that the docks sit in?
Well, that's a very good question. We own the land and we own to the low water point. The port owns the water
Is the
point.
state on?
Outside, no, we actually own, anybody owns, well, actually, we own to the low water point of the property. Army Corps basically has rights to the land under it. Now, I'm not gonna argue with Army Corps. In our legislation, technically, the law does say in the state of New York, we own all water above and below, or have control over water above and below the Oswego Harbor. Now, I'm not gonna mince words, I'm an attorney. I'm just reading what our legislation says. But I think in this case, Army Corps and DEC have to give approval to anchor anything to the bottom of the navigable water within the state of New York. So all we are extending to him is our land portion, which we have control over, and DEC would have to approve an Army Corps to actually anchor to the bottom. And that's what they're talking about, not land-based, there would be water-based floating that he would gain access from our property.
I mentioned 4 agencies, it's the Army Corps of Engineers, the DEC, the Department of State, and the 4th one escapes me. Anyway, that's 3 of the 4. And it's quite a process. I mean, this is not something that is, we're kind of.
How many times have we put docks in? We still was held up for a year on just the one we just bid last month on that, so. Yeah, it's a complicated procedure, so.
And so do we have a motion on 0108-2404?
I'll move it.
That was
And
fast.
Stan? Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Good luck with that.
Thank
Good luck. Stay
Okay,
vertical.
I think I need to leave and get my foot up.
Tom, give me a day or two to put together a letter,
Perfect.
doing this.
We have a board meeting tomorrow night, the Yacht Club board meeting. I'd like to share this information with them.
You can share it, it'll give me a day or two to put the letter
Right.
together.
Thank you,
It's
everyone.
already public, right?
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, you're okay with avoiding executive session?
Yeah, we've already done,
Done.
yeah, let's do,
And we just had
let's do
something to
motion,
I hope the other guy looks
Shall we do
worse.
this compensatory
2405.
time?
Yeah.
All right. So our next new business agenda item is to discuss the compensatory time off policy, which was in our packet, and it would be,
in which we discussed under.
yeah, we discussed.
So I'd like to move it
All right.
as amended by council. And questions, concerns, we can
All right, Tom is moving this,
Second.
John second.
as edited by council. Who second? John?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I should have this as
Any discussion? All set with that? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Any other new business? Okay, we have a motion to go into executive. John, you want to move to go in?
To move to executive session to discuss compensatory time off policy.
No, we already did that one,
Oh.
so you had
You had
something
something to
else.
say.
Oh,
Give it a general characterization.
I have to admit to either being naive or stupid, because it was the governance committee several months ago that was charged with the notion of examining compensatory payments.
We're not
We're
executive.
not yet.
No, he's discussing why we're moving
Okay.
into executive
Okay.
session, so we're moving into
What topic are we
executive
going
session
to
because
discuss?
you were either naive or, oh, so
Compensatory
we are.
time
Okay.
off,
Okay.
compensatory time off policy and financial support.
Okay. So we need to make a
So you're
motion?
making the
Yeah,
motion?
you did, I'll second.
Okay, all right.
John,
motion.
executive session, seconded by John at 5:43.
I'll move to adjourn.
Wait till she puts the camera on.
I second it.
5:44, 0108-240. Wait a minute.
That the right one?
789, 2409 to adjourn.
I seconded it. Tom stole my thunder tonight.
5:44. Hard to beat,
All right, now, you.
I am so proud of you all tonight.
Good.
hard to beat.
We be done.
Fred was still not talking.